You sign the lease again. Another year, another $1,400 a month gone, just like that. And somewhere in the back of your head, you keep hearing it. You're throwing money away. Your uncle said it, your coworker said it, maybe even your parents. But here's the thing nobody tells you. What if buying a home is actually the move that drains you dry? What if the math that everyone swears by is based on assumptions that haven't been true for a decade? That's what we're getting into today, and the numbers might genuinely shock you. My name is Ricky, and I spend way too much time running numbers most people never see. If you're someone who's tired of feeling behind on the whole home ownership thing, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and drop a thumbs up if this helps you out. So here's the situation millions of people are stuck in right now. You're renting. You've been renting for 2, maybe 3 years, and every single month when that payment leaves your account, there's this uncomfortable feeling that hits you, like you're losing, like everyone else is out there building something and you're just standing still. And then the pressure comes from every direction. Family dinners get awkward real fast. So when are you two buying something? Like renting is a character flaw, like you haven't thought about it 1,000 times already. Here's what makes it worse. You're not even sure what you're waiting for. Prices feel insane. Interest rates went from 3% to 7% practically overnight. A home that cost $280,000 in 2019 is somehow $420,000 now in most markets. So you do the math and it doesn't work. But then you feel guilty for not buying, because buying is what responsible adults do, right? That guilt, that pressure, that constant comparison, it's exhausting. And it's also pushing people into really expensive decisions based on emotion instead of math. Look, I'm not here to tell you renting is always better, and I'm not here to tell you buying is always better. I'm here to show you the actual numbers, the real trade-offs, the stuff the mortgage commercials never put in the ad. Because once you see it clearly, the decision gets a lot less scary. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest financial myth most people carry around without ever questioning it. Renting is throwing money away. You've heard it, you've probably believed it. I believed it too for a long time. But here's what most people don't realize. When you buy a home, especially in the first 5 to 7 years, a massive chunk of your mortgage payment is also disappearing. It's called interest, and it is not building you any equity. On a $350,000 home with a 7% interest rate and a 30-year mortgage, your monthly payment is around $2,328. But in month 1, only about $285 of that goes toward your actual loan balance. The other $2,043 goes straight to the bank. That's not ownership, that's rent, paid to a lender. Now, yes, over time that shifts, and yes, home values can appreciate. But the idea that every dollar you spend renting is wasted while every dollar you spend buying is invested, that is simply not true. Not in the early years, not with today's rates. And when you stack property taxes, homeowners insurance, and maintenance costs on top of that mortgage payment, the true monthly cost of owning a $350,000 home isn't $2,328. It's closer to $3,000 or more every single month. Most people never run those numbers before they sign. Let's slow down and build this properly. Say you're choosing between 2 options right now. Option 1, you rent an apartment for $1,600 a month. Option 2, you buy a $350,000 home with 7% down. Your mortgage plus taxes, insurance, and maintenance lands you at roughly $3,050 a month all in. That's a difference of $1,450 every single month compared to renting. Now, the question isn't just which one builds wealth. The real question is what happens to that $1,450 gap. If the renter just spends it, yeah, buying probably wins long term. But if the renter invests that difference, the math changes completely. The S&P 500 has returned an average of about 10% annually over the last 30 years. Not every year, some years it drops hard, but over time, that's the historical average. If you invest $1,450 a month for 10 years at 10% average return, you end up with roughly $296,000. That's nearly $300,000, built without a single mortgage payment, without a single repair call, without a single sleepless night over a broken water heater. Now, compare that to the equity built in the home over the same 10 years. In the early years of a 7% mortgage, equity builds slowly. After 10 years on a $350,000 home, you've paid down maybe $45,000 to $50,000 in principal, assuming no dramatic appreciation. So let's be direct about the contrast. The renter who invested consistently, $296,000. The buyer building equity, around $50,000. That's a $246,000 difference. And most people never see it because they're too focused on the idea of ownership to run the actual math. Here's where it gets really interesting. Home appreciation is real. I'm not dismissing it. Nationally, homes have appreciated around 3 to 4% per year on average over the long run. In some cities, way more. In others, barely at all. But appreciation is not profit, not automatically. Okay, let's add this up. When you sell a home, you pay a real estate agent typically 5 to 6% of the sales price. On a $450,000 sale, that's up to $27,000 gone before you see a dollar. Then there's closing costs when you bought, usually 2 to 5% of the purchase price. On $350,000, that's another $7,000 to $17,500 out of pocket. Then every repair, every upgrade, every roof replacement, subtract that too. So that $100,000 in appreciation you're celebrating, after fees, maintenance, and closing costs on both ends, your real gain is often far smaller than people expect. This isn't doom and gloom. Homeownership can absolutely build wealth, but it builds wealth under specific conditions: the right market, the right timeline, the right financial foundation underneath you. And if those conditions aren't in place, it can drain wealth quietly, month after month, year after year. Let me make this real with two people. Jordan is 29. He lives in Austin. He's been renting a 2-bedroom for $1,700 a month. His friends keep telling him he's wasting money. So in 2022, he stretches his budget and buys a $390,000 home. 7% down, mortgage plus everything else runs him $3,400 a month. He's tight, but he makes it work. Then the AC unit dies, $5,800. Then property taxes get reassessed and jump $180 a month. And just like that, Jordan has no emergency fund left, he's not investing, he's not sleeping well. The home has appreciated maybe $25,000 on paper, but he can't touch that without selling or taking on more debt. He bought a home, but he didn't build financial stability. Now meet Simone, same age, same city, same income as Jordan. Simone kept renting at $1,700. She took the difference between what Jordan pays and what she pays, about $1,700 a month, and invested it consistently into index funds. Nothing complicated, nothing fancy. In 3 years, she's sitting on around $68,000 in investments. Her emergency fund is fully stacked, she's not stressed about an AC unit. And here's the thing, she's just getting started. If she keeps that same pace for 10 years, she'll be looking at numbers that rival a paid-down mortgage in equity. Now, here's the twist most people miss. Neither of them made the objectively wrong decision. What made the difference wasn't renting versus buying, it was whether the decision matched their financial reality at that moment. Jordan bought before he had the foundation to absorb the true costs of ownership. Simone rented and used that flexibility as a deliberate financial tool. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Ricky, but what about 30 years from now? Doesn't buying always win long-term? And honestly, sometimes yes. If you stay in the home long enough in a market that appreciates with a manageable payment and you've avoided the trap of being house poor, buying can absolutely build wealth over time. But the key phrase is long enough, and that timeline matters more than almost anything else in this conversation. All right, stop for a second, because there's one number almost nobody calculates before they buy, and it might be the most important number in this entire decision. It's called the break-even point. Here's what it means. When you buy a home, you spend a significant amount just to get in the door. Closing costs, down payment, moving expenses, immediate repairs. In most cases, that's $30,000 to $60,000 out the door before your first mortgage payment. For buying to make financial sense, you need to stay in that home long enough for your equity gains and appreciation to outrun those upfront costs. Now, here's why this matters right now specifically. The New York Times Rent versus Buy calculator, one of the most honest tools out there, shows that in most mid to high cost markets, with interest rates where they are today, the break-even point is often 5 to 8 years out. Meaning if you buy and then move in 4 years, there's a real chance you lost money compared to just renting. And here's the stat that should make you pause. The average American moves every 5 to 7 years. Job relocation, growing family, relationship changes, life just shifts. So if your plan is to buy, stay a few years, then sell and upgrade, the math on that plan is shaky at best right now. The people who genuinely build life-changing wealth through home ownership are not the people who treated it like a short-term move. They're the people who bought within their means, stayed put, kept costs low, and let time do the heavy lifting. Patience in real estate is the real wealth builder, not the purchase itself. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking, should I rent or buy? And start asking, what does my financial foundation actually look like right now? Because home ownership rewards stability. It punishes financial fragility. If you have a fully funded emergency fund, if your debt is under control, if your income is stable and you plan to stay in one place for at least 7 to 10 years, buying starts to make a lot of sense. But if you're stretching to make the down payment work, if one job loss would derail everything, if you're buying because of pressure and not because of readiness, renting is not failure. Renting is strategy. The people who win with money long-term are not the ones who made the most impressive moves. They're the ones who made the right moves at the right time for their actual life. Let's bring it all together. Here's what you need to remember from today. Renting is not throwing money away. In the early years of a mortgage at today's rates, most of your payment goes to interest and not equity. Both renters and buyers are paying for a place to live. The question is, which one builds more wealth given your specific situation? The true cost of homeownership is almost always higher than the mortgage payment. When you add property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and HOA fees, you're often looking at $500 to $1,000 more per month than people budget for. Run the real numbers before you commit. The break-even point matters more than almost anything else. In most markets right now, you need to stay in a home 5 to 8 years minimum for buying to outperform renting financially. If your life might shift before then, that changes the entire calculation. What you do with the difference matters enormously. If you rent and invest that cost gap consistently in index funds, retirement accounts, whatever fits your situation, renting can absolutely build real, significant wealth over time. And finally, buying is not inherently better, but buying at the right time in the right market with the right financial foundation underneath you and staying long enough to let it work, that is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools available to regular people anywhere. There is no universal answer here. There's only your numbers, your timeline, your life. And now you have the framework to figure out which one actually makes sense for where you are right now. Look, I know this stuff can feel like a lot. Everyone around you seems to have it figured out, and you're just trying to make the right call without making a $300,000 mistake. Take a breath. You're already ahead of most people just by asking the real questions. If this video helped you think about this differently, that's genuinely all I wanted. Drop a comment and tell me where you're at right now. Renting, thinking about buying, already bought and wondering if you made the right call. I read every single one. If you want more of this kind of straight, honest breakdown on money, no hype, just real math, hit subscribe. There's a lot more coming. And if you've got a friend who's about to make a big financial decision based on pressure instead of numbers, send them this video. All right, I'll see you in the next one.